From time to time, many of us struggle with many facets of photography, and that usually coincides with a lack of motivation. A lack of motivation can be due to many factors. Sometimes a lack of motivation can be caused by a very busy personal life, which makes it difficult to get out there and shoot in the first place. In the case of street photography, some of you might suffer because you've been out shooting a lot, yet you become stuck emotionally when trying to determine what to shoot out there. And then even more frustrating is when you actually have a plan, yet you often do not execute that plan because you just can't seem to see what you want to see. Let me share some of my frustrations and oversights, and maybe you can assimilate and we can work through this together. I'll also let you know the processes that I'm currently undertaking to help me have more productive street shoots. So, full transparency here, I've identified far too often that during my 60 to 75 minute drives from the Central Coast down to Sydney to shoot in the street, many times I've been travelling along the motorway on my way down with absolutely no idea where I'm going to shoot and what I'm going to shoot. Now for me, that will almost exclusively mean that I'll find myself in the Sydney CBD, walking back and forth between Circular Quay and Chinatown. Why? Well, because I know that there'll be an abundance of people about, and the light is usually spectacular in the CBD. Now, in many ways, the Sydney CBD is fantastic for street photography, and maybe your capital city is too. Therefore, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with spending a lot of time shooting there. However, if you're doing that and you're not getting the results that you're after, then something has to change. So how do we go about identifying these issues and making changes in the first place? So right off the bat, we actually need to acknowledge that variety should be adopted where possible. And by that I mean finding different places to shoot to begin with. Now, different places to shoot can mean many things. It can mean suburbs outside of the CBD, or it could simply mean different streets within the CBD. But let's just say that for now you're okay with regularly going back to the same place. Now, I've been reasonably happy with a lot of my street pictures over the past 3 to 4 years. However, to me, most of them don't seem to hold enough of my attention. For a long time, I've taken a high percentage of my street pictures between mid-morning and mid-afternoon. If you know where to shoot, you can find streets where light and shadow meet if that takes your fancy. But there's also nothing wrong with taking pictures in harsh sunlight. Many pictures taken in harsh light can tell a story, and that story may include clothes that people were wearing, facial expressions, body language, vehicles nearby, etc. At the time that I was making a lot of my harsh sunlight pictures, I really liked a lot of them, still do with many of them. However, when I look back at most of them now, I often admit that I'm not super happy with them. These tend to be the ones which are replaced in my website portfolio as soon as I believe that better ones are more suitable to me, and more importantly, which better represent my preferred style. So what does hold my attention in the world of street photography actually mean? Now, I certainly don't have a vast array of photo books. In fact, I own just 4. But we all know that good photography books can serve as great inspiration. On top of that, we can often find inspiration from photographers on YouTube whose work we admire. What I have found in both the favourite pictures of mine but also the favourite pictures within the works of photographers I admire is that I prefer pictures where the sun is relatively low in the sky. Now this can obviously be early morning or late afternoon, however I am categorically not a morning person. In capital cities like Sydney, if you're relatively familiar with the streets, you will inevitably know where the light falls best between buildings. And when the sun is low in the sky, this can have dramatic effects on pictures. Often when the sun is low and falling between buildings, you can create movie or stage-like scenes where subjects tend to look like they are part of a painting, and that there actually isn't a street, vehicle or other people nearby. For me, that can often provide a surreal scene. Also, glass, coloured facade elements and or retail signs can really add some punch too. Now, this doesn't mean that I'll exclusively shoot this way from here on in. However, it is my preferred option for when I like to create some drama and punch in my street pictures. There will always be a place for more documentary style pictures which can help to tell a story about places, people or even vehicles. And they don't necessarily always need to be bright pictures either. For example, I've often wanted to get out in the rain and shoot. I'm not entirely sure why that hasn't happened yet, but documentary style pictures can be great to look back upon years down the track as pure moments in time. So what about you guys? Do you guys suffer with a lack of motivation? Do you shoot often? Do you mix up your locations and your style of pictures? Are you struggling with making pictures that relate to your thoughts and intentions about your own photography? I'd really love to hear your feedback. It could really help yourself and, more importantly, others to work through their own processes.